Hi, thank you so much for joining me. I am Christina Garnett, and you are here for another episode of the Woman's MBA. And I have to be honest, I'm going to try to get through this episode without fangirling too hard. I am so lucky because one of my guests is someone I've been following on Twitter and LinkedIn for quite a while. She's absolutely brilliant, and I'm so excited to share her brilliance with all of you listening. Today, I have Vicky Ross. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm going to try not to fangirl too because I've been following you. I love what you do. I love this podcast series. I love all the guests you've had on. I love everything that you put out into the world. So yeah, we both need to try and keep calm then.
Yeah, we're gonna try to just get through it. So you are a copywriter, but that doesn't really cover it. You work with global brands, entertainment, news to talk about their branding, to talk about their tone of voice. How do you even get there? Like you've worked with Sky, like you're working with some really large names. For the people who are listening, we're gonna dive right in. How did you get started?
Well, it was an accident. I think, like most copywriters, no one really knows what a copywriter is, maybe more so now. But when I was coming through, I didn't know that there was such a job. I had no idea that people told brands how they should talk. I just loved magazines and I was good at writing and I loved reading. And I thought that what I was looking at in magazines, the adverts, and the editorial was something that a journalist did. So at about 18, because I wasn't really into school and I didn't carry on into further education after I could stop what I was doing at school. Um, so at 18, I wrote to the editor of British Vogue, who was Alexandra Shulman at the time, and asked her for a job. I thought it was that easy to get one writing for such a major publication. Of course, I didn't get any job in that sort of area. So I went to work just doing whatever I could. So office assistant positions, reception, that sort of thing. And I ended up at a tiny direct marketing agency where after a few months I began to understand what they did. And that was they put what I thought were adverts into the national press, but they were reader offers. And so after a while, I asked if I could write one because I was confident in my ability to write. And the creative director let me. And because it was direct marketing, there was always a response. It was always measured and it performed well. So they let me write more. And then after I'd done that for about 2.5 years, I went off traveling. And when I came back, thought, well, I'm a copywriter now, so I can get a job anywhere. And I couldn't. No one had heard of me. No one had heard of the agency I worked at. And so I was kind of back to square one, and I got an office assistant job at the Body Shop head office. I was looking after someone's diary. She was the product development director, and I wasn't very good at all of that. And she recognized that and said, what is it that you actually want to do? And I said, well, I love writing and I've done all these reader offers. And she gave me something to rewrite. And she read it and she said, yeah, you're in the wrong position, the wrong department. And there's a bit more to the story, but I won't go on. But I ended up in the creative studio for 6 years. And then I suppose I never looked back after that. I've been a copywriter ever since. And then maybe about 14 years ago, I started getting into the area of branding and tone of voice, and have been telling big brands around the world how to talk ever since. So you said Sky and entertainment brands. They are mostly in the entertainment industry. I had a great time working with IMAX last year, and now I only ever want to watch films in IMAX.
The Christopher Nolan effect?
Yeah. So I did go and see Oppenheimer. Well, I had to know what they were talking about. You've always got to use your
Yeah.
product right to be able to do a good job.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's so true, because it wasn't actually until I went and saw a film in IMAX that I realized what an experience it is, and that obviously impacted my writing for the brand. So yeah, TV. I mean, I'm so lucky. I started working in beauty, and to be completely stereotypical, what most women like, playing with lotions and potions, and then I moved into TV and film, and I love watching TV and film. So yeah, my job, I'm just very lucky.
I love that. But I got to take the word lucky away from you
I
because I think
know.
there's this beautiful alchemy that you've created with your story where you have this chutzpah, this confidence that I absolutely love. Like who else is writing to British Vogue to be like, you should absolutely have me write for you. Like, you have no idea what you're missing. But then also, what you've really done is you've more like seized the day, where you've found opportunities, you've led with confidence, but you've sold it with your talent. And so I love the story about how both of those people really gave you that opportunity to do something. But if you didn't have the talent, you wouldn't have kept going. So I want to remove that luck from you, and just
No,
I don't think it's luck.
you're absolutely right. And I say the same to anyone else that says those things. I do feel lucky. But yes,
Yeah.
you picked up on something that has been consistent in my career path, and that was I told anyone who would listen that I wanted to be a writer, and eventually a few people let me give it a go. And then, of course, if I wasn't any good at it, I wouldn't have got to where I am now. So, yes.
Yep. Yeah, it's that talent meets opportunity. It's all of those things combined. So I absolutely love that. And you mentioned earlier that when you were getting started, not a lot of people knew what copywriting was, and that more people do now. I would argue a lot of people still don't know what copywriters do. So can you give us that Webster's dictionary version of like, what is a copywriter?
A copywriter is someone that finds a story for a brand in the area that I work in anyway, which is more commercial and consumer facing. And we write the messaging that a brand puts out into the world, and then the tone of voice part of it is finding how that message is going to feel and sound, and how people are going to respond to it. There are various types of copywriting, but that's where I'm at.
I love that. And I have to ask you your take on this, because I'm sure that you're being kind of faced with this, especially on the internet with all of these conversations. AI. That in itself is a I second that response. Insert the deepest of sighs.
I know. Well, yeah. Look, there are a number of things I could say about AI, and one is, of course, it is useful for many things and will be beneficial to many people. The second thing I need to say is I'm a massive technophobe. I'm old and old-fashioned, and I don't like change. But AI at the moment cannot replace how good copy is when it comes from a human.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a number of reasons for that, but the main one is, if we are trying as copywriters to appeal to other humans, we need to appeal to them and talk to them on an emotional level and give them something that they can believe in and relate to. And AI can only do that based on what it's programmed to know. It doesn't have anything inherently within it that it has experienced and that it can communicate in a way that someone can respond to positively. And one of the examples I give at the moment, because it was a recent campaign that I just love, is McDonald's in New Zealand came out at the beginning of this year. No, sorry, I think it was last year. I said it was recent. Time flies, right? And the campaign was called "We Speak Late Night." Basically, they mean drunk, but they can't say that. And the adverts are all McDonald's orders, but in complete gobbledygook. But you recognise them because you know what it's like to try and get words out when you're drunk. And AI, a robot, has never been at a pub or a bar all day and got wasted, and then at 2 a.m. turned up at a McDonald's and tried to order a quarter pounder with cheese, and it come out wrong. And so the adverts are funny, and people can relate to them because a lot of people have been in those situations. AI is never going to come up with something like that. And people often say to me, "Oh, never say never," or "Well, not yet." And I'm always like, "Well, yeah, maybe not yet, but let's live in the moment and support and celebrate people's skills and craft." It actually, part of my sigh is because I'm just so disappointed, and that's putting it mildly, at the industry press, who are just banging out headlines saying AI is coming for our jobs, AI will take a creative's job, because in the current climate and the state of the world, why are we scaring people who are struggling?
No, I think that's I think that's spot on. I think it's what we're seeing is this kind of nexus of we're in the thick of a hype cycle for AI. Hype cycles, I don't think is really going to pop. It's just going to like calm down. It's going to plateau. But at the same time, though, you have journalists who are themselves being laid off. And so their measure of success is clicks, and fear sells.
I know,
Fear
isn't it
gets clicks.
horrible?
But what's wild is even that is something that you're talking about. It's an emotional resonance. And so if you look at all of the most beautiful things on social, the worst things on social, they all have an emotional tether. They piss me off, so I got to comment. I got to quote tweet this and put them on blast. I'm going to send crying emojis because it touched my heart and it made me emotional. But I think that's such a great point that you talk about, where because the AI doesn't have that, what kind of content can you create from something that is incapable of empathy? It literally can't. It literally doesn't know what that feels like, the good, the bad, the ugly. It doesn't know what that heartbreak is. It's kind of the opposite of Taylor Swift, where you hear a Taylor Swift song and she's heartbroken and you're like, she gets me. It's like, no, she had her heart broken too, and so did you. And so you can connect in those moments. No one's dumped AI. No one's made them eat like a pint of ice cream or watch their like Pride and Prejudice for the 100th time to get through the pandemic. Like, how do you create emotional resonance from something like that? And so I think that's such a galvanizing point for that. I absolutely love that.
Yeah,
I got to talk to you
completely
too
agree.
about, sorry.
I completely agree.
I think it says a lot about, and what you're seeing too with brand, and we're in this attention economy. And so there's a lot of people who are gaming the algorithm versus doing that storytelling that you love so much. If someone is listening and they're like, you know what, my boss is telling me we got to play the game, but I really want to tell the story, what advice do you have for them who are fighting that fight?
Um, I like to be a bit dramatic on these sorts of things, and I tell everyone that you can't win a fight without going to battle. Like you can't just say how you feel and hope for the best. You need evidence, like you're presenting in a court of law. People need things to be made easy for them too. Everyone's busy, and they've got their own agenda. But if you can go to your boss with side by side comparisons of what you want to do versus what they want to do and hope that they see the difference, that's that's going to help you get somewhere. And listen, you won't win every argument, but at least you'll know you've tried, and that will help you sleep at night.
No, I love that. If you were getting started now, obviously the market right now, both in the UK and in the US, is just a mess. I'm just going to be polite and just call it messy. So there's a lot of people who are struggling right now, trying to figure out like, all right, the paths I'm taking are not working for me, or I can't get hired, or I'm struggling because I can get a job, but maybe I hate that job, or there's no growth for me. And a lot of the women I've spoken to, we're all kind of experiencing something very similar to like a mid-career life crisis, where we're looking around like, I did all the things. I did all the things I was supposed to do, but this isn't where I thought I would land after I did all those things. When you're trying to figure out, because you've really kind of you've blazoned this trail of your own making, and how do you see others trying to do that today, or is it even possible to do what you did today? I'd love your thoughts.
I think if I was setting out now to find the career that I have ended up with, I'd probably be more creative about it.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't know, well, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just hoping for the best when I was coming through. But now I understand the advertising industry more. I understand the world of branding more. I would work to create a portfolio, like a whole body of work that I could present to potential employers, and I would be intentional about who I was presenting that to. So when I was starting out, I just applied for jobs through creative recruitment agencies, um, thinking that I'd just be one of a handful of people. But of course, there's hundreds of people going for the same jobs, so you need to stand out. I would be thinking about if I wanted a job at Adidas, for example, I would create a load of spec work for Adidas. So it targets them. I tell people to think of themselves as if they're the advert and any potential recruiter is the target audience. So how would you advertise yourself to that person or brand? And make sure that everything that you're doing is relevant to the person that you're targeting, and then be intentional about contacting them. I think some of us can be really passive, or maybe not even passive, just have a belief and a trust in the system that is LinkedIn, for example, or creative recruitment agencies like I mentioned, and hope that all these things are going to work out for us. But I believe in making your magic happen yourself, and everyone's contact details pretty much are available everywhere. So look them up on LinkedIn, whoever it is that you think will be hiring, and write to them directly. And I don't mean a direct message on LinkedIn. I mean, get their email address and write to them. I know someone did that recently. I know lots of people that do that, but one success story in the last month that I know of is there was a job going at a big brand, and the person I'm thinking of, she saw the advert and she clicked on the link, and it took her to just like a typical standard application form online, with no idea of where that was going to go once she'd filled in all her details. And being creative and creatively minded, she went and found the person that would be hiring for that job and wrote to them directly and wrote a beautiful email to them. I mean, there was just no way they were going to ignore that. And in that, she said, she acknowledged that that might not be what they were after, but the form didn't give her any room to be creative and show off her abilities. So how was she going to stand out and get that job? So yeah, I think we need to put effort into what we want to try and help us get what we want. And I think that in all of that, although it sounds like a lot of work, I really believe that when we're being productive and proactive, we feel positive. And that is really important when things might feel hopeless because we've been looking for a job for a certain amount of time and nothing's happening, and the narrative out in the world is very negative right now. So it's important to look after yourself in all of this, mentally as well as physically and emotionally.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that really carries over into what we're seeing on LinkedIn, especially with the algorithm changes. We're seeing it's a zoo over there. Like, you're seeing the algorithm really reward people who are, there's no other way to say it. It's either success porn or trauma porn. And they're really kind of shilling out what would be the highest moments or the lowest moments of their life for engagement. And so what you're talking about is very much like setting up your personal brand, but not in the way that we're seeing it on there, which is this copy paste, like milking the emotional resonance for, if I say this, then people are going to be really sad, and their goodness is going to create engagement. Their empathy is going to create engagement for me. And so what are your takes on the people who are saying, like, I completely agree with all that, I'm working on that, but I want to build on social, and I'm seeing all of these other people do things that I don't want to write that. I don't want to be that vulnerable, or I don't want to humble brag all the time. How can I build this drumbeat for myself so that I'm staying true to myself? And maybe I'm not getting all the engagement, but I'm getting the people that I want to find me. What would be your tips for that?
Well, firstly, and potentially controversially, I really don't like the term personal brand. It's just you. It's your personality. It's your being. It's how you show up in the world. Labeling it personal brand, it feels like work, and then you have to live up to who you've curated as that personal brand. And that's a lot of work. That's mentally and emotionally exhausting. So just show up as you. And when you show up as you, you're authentic and people can get to know you. And I think, there is some fear of sharing stuff on social media. And so I often tell people just to go in lightly at first to get a feel for it, and just comment on stuff if you don't want to post something of your own. And comment on things in areas that you're going to attract or find people in an industry or an area that you want to work in. It's like minor networking. And if
Yeah.
you are confident in posting, then find articles. This is what I do. It's not intentional at all. It's just I work by myself at home and I don't have anyone to talk to. So I go on social media and I post an article that I've read about something that I'm interested in. And then other people in that area reply, and then suddenly I've made new connections. So yeah, find things you're interested in, share things you're interested in. Just because you're sharing, it doesn't have to be braggy or humble braggy. It could just
Mhm.
be, I saw this today. And you don't even have to
Mhm.
ask for any engagement, but if you do feel brave, you could say, I saw this today, what do you think? The bottom line
Yeah.
is, I think, be interested to be interesting.
I love that. No, that's a great line. That's probably gonna be in the show notes.
Mhm. Well, that's
We'll
how
just
to
go
have
ahead
good
with that there.
conversations with people, and it
Yeah,
goes to when you go to a job interview too. Like, if you don't have anything to say for yourself, how are you going to get to know each other?
that's valid. Yeah, that's a good point. I love that. When you are thinking about the future of copywriting and what you see in the creative space, because I'm seeing, and I'm sure you're seeing this too, I'm seeing a lot of really cool content coming out. Like you mentioned McDonald's earlier. I love their marketing team. They absolutely kill it. There's a new billboard that I saw that it doesn't have any branding, but it's red and it smells like their French fries. And I was like, that's something only McDonald's is gonna do. Like I know as soon as I see it, only they would be adventurous to this. Um, but we're also seeing brands kind of fall into the same traps of like comparing themselves to their competitors or doing like really old school things but not making the landing. Super Bowl ads are probably the best example of they insert a celeb and that's supposed to create interest and it's just not. What do you see? Like are there any trends you're seeing or what do you think about for the future of creative as a whole?
To your point on the sort of comparative marketing that's going on, it drives me mad. If we're being specific, I think Pepsi and Burger King are the biggest culprits of this.
Yes. Yes.
And they're huge. Everyone knows who they are. Why are they
Yeah.
talking about other brands? Why are they not backing
Yeah.
themselves? They have so much to say, and
Yeah.
they have fans. They have fans of
Mhm.
their brand. So entertain them, give them something
Yeah.
to enjoy and get their teeth into. Don't promote another brand like Pepsi's always talking about Coca-Cola. Burger King talks about
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
I just think it's crazy. What a waste of time and money and
Yep.
the value in all of their assets to go and use other brands' assets in their ads. Crazy. So
Yeah.
yes, that's
Yeah.
that's a small trend. I guess it's in their DNA, and I mean, I don't think it should be, but I can't see that they're going to stop anytime soon.
Yeah.
Another trend right now, as we speak, is a couple of brands have put ad campaigns out recently where they have almost hidden or disguised their distinctive brand assets. And if anyone doesn't know, what I'm talking about is their logo or their color or their slogan. And while these really established brands that are doing it, like British Airways, or there's another McDonald's campaign that's just come out. I don't know if you've seen it, the billboards with
Mhm.
half words on, and they're black and
Yes.
white. They don't even have the logo or the color.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit arrogant that we're just assuming that customers give enough of a I was going to swear, care enough to
You can
um,
cuss. This can be a cussy place. We're
okay.
fine. We're good. We're adults. It's all good.
I was going to say, I think it's really arrogant to think that consumers give a shit enough to go and work out what the advert is for and who it's for.
Yeah.
And while the aim for branding is to have assets that are so recognized and familiar because they've been used for so long that you could play with them and people still recognize them, the goal shouldn't be that we play with them so much that we hope that people do recognize them.
Yeah.
I think that's a crazy way to play. I'm not saying don't be creative, but there are other ways of being creative. Also,
Mhm.
brand assets cost an absolute fortune and
Yeah.
take decades of commitment of use of them consistently for them to be that recognized and familiar. And some of the money that I'm talking about that it costs to um, develop them, it also goes into protecting them. So if the brand isn't even protecting them, then you're kind of opening yourself up to other brands playing with them, and it's just going to get a little bit messy out there, I think. So
Yeah.
I always feel a real honor to work for the brands that I work for, but I also take on this massive responsibility to respect the consumer and to never assume that they are looking for what we're saying. I think it's our responsibility as brands to entertain, educate. We're not always welcome in. Talking about high streets or TVs, we're in people's faces when they might not want us to be. On social, for example, I think it's different. I think people actively go and look for brands and follow them, sometimes even talk to them. So that's a different space. But anywhere else, we owe it to the audience to show them a good time and to make things easy for them.
That's spot on. I mean, no notes. I completely agree with that. I do think that that highlights a trap that I see, and I'm guilty of it too, where there's a bit of a marketing advertising echo chamber where we forget about the consumer and we still want to impress each other. Or I think like the Burger King is a great example of this, the moldy Whopper that won all of those Cannes Lions, but did that make any single person want to eat there? Because if it didn't, then what are we doing? And so I think there's this trap that we fall into as marketers and advertisers of, well, if other marketers and advertisers thought it was brilliant, then it's brilliant, instead of thinking like at the end of the day, it's the consumer.
Yeah, totally. I think the confusion lies with us all talking to each other on brand and marketing Twitter, for example.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's a great, like I said, I work by myself at home, so I love going onto social media to talk to people. It's like an extension of a team almost, if I want to think of it that way. And of course, we're all going to like things and want to talk about things, but we have to be mindful that we are talking to ourselves and each other in those areas. And just because something is popular in brand and marketing Twitter doesn't mean it's popular in the real world. I mean, I always ask my husband what he thinks of something when it's blown up on social media. And you could argue that he's kind of, tuned into what we're talking about because he lives with me. But quite often he's like, I don't care. He can't even be bothered to have the conversation with me. Or we'll walk down the street. There was one time in particular, and I said, "Did you see that billboard?" And he said, "What billboard?" So he's not looking. We, as you say, we have to be mindful of who we're talking to at the end of the day. And also, wouldn't the branding and marketing Twitter chat be even more interesting if it came with effectiveness? So yes, we like this advert. Yes, it looks great and stylish and sexy. But guess what? It also performed really well because there was an increase in sales in blah, 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 blah. That moldy Whopper, I don't believe generated any more sales. And in fact, I don't have the stats. I think Mark Ritson talks about it quite a lot, that all of the Burger King activations don't result in more sales.
Yeah. No, I love Mark. He's brilliant. So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised he's talking about that.
He is.
But I think at the end of the day, that's because like we've talked about in the economy that we're in, and like the fear of being replaced or laid off, for better or for worse, effectiveness is a part of the job. At the end of the day, like, yes, it looked pretty, or yes, it was funny, or it made someone laugh, but did the KPIs outside of the marketing world, like, is the CEO happy?
Yeah.
Like, is the CRO happy? Like, are they seeing measurable numbers based off of that one specific activation or that campaign? And I think that that's something that we desperately need to remember as departments, as pros, as people who are doing this, is that like it's the work, but is the work actually working?
Yeah.
Is it actually garnering any attention and revenue from that? So I love all of that. Completely agree. What I would love to end with, I could talk to you forever, but I don't want to take all your time. But would love to know, if you were to speak to your younger self, maybe the girl that wrote British Vogue, what would you tell yourself? Like, what's the big unlock or the one piece of wisdom that you wish that she knew?
I think that patience is important. When I was young, I still am, but when I was young, I was really hungry and really wanted to I was ambitious. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to keep climbing up and up and up and getting those job titles that at the time I thought meant something really important. But in reality, when I got to as senior as I could go as a copywriter, so head of copy at major brands, I found I was in meetings more than I was writing, and I love to write, and I don't like to be talking about a state of a business and how the strategy of its future. Its future strategy. I'm a much better writer than I am speaker, by the way. And so yeah, the titles don't always bring you everything that you think they will. And so just to be mindful of that, like the titles aren't everything. Life, happiness and fulfillment is more important. But I think you don't realize that until you get older and slow down a tiny bit and just reflect and appreciate other things that are going on in life.
Absolutely.
Before you close us out, I was thinking about when we were talking about looking for jobs and how we show up on social media. I love following you on social media, and I do see that you're often so, desperately trying to help people find work, and you're sharing things and you're supporting people. I mean, even just this podcast series is a massive champion of women in particular, and helping them get ahead or just feel more confident in their careers. So big up to you.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. No, I hope it's helping people. I hope it's making the world better than how I found it.
No, good for you.
Oh, wonderful. If anyone is interested in connecting with you, following you on Twitter or LinkedIn, or is interested in hiring you to do consulting and brand work and copywriting for them, how can they find you? How can they reach out?
I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Twitter. My Twitter handle is Vicky Ross Writes.
Amazing. And thank you so much for your time. It was absolutely lovely. And thank you for sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you, listeners, for spending your time with us. We are so grateful that you listened to this story, and we hope that it was helpful for you too. Make sure that you remember that all of our stories are unique, and no matter how quickly or how slowly you climb, your journey matters. Until next time, I'm Christina Garnett, signing off.